It is said that around 40% of all Americans are descended from at least one ancestor that was one of the 12 million immigrants that passed through Ellis Island. Annie Moore was the very first one, and her legacy lives on today. Who was Annie, and what's her story? What became of her after she started her new life in the new world? In this video, we honor Annie by sharing her story with all of you. Hey everybody, this is Colonel Carson with Family Tree Nuts, and recently we visited both Ellis Island in New York Harbor and the Cobh Heritage Center in Cobh, County Cork, Ireland. Cobh was the port of exit for Annie Moore and where her story begins. By the way, if you like these types of videos, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that bell so you get notified when we post new videos. At Family Tree Nuts, we have history videos all over the United States and a few countries like this one. This video is one of several that we have from Ireland, so be sure to check out our Ireland playlist. Also, our very first Family Tree Nuts video ever was filmed at Ellis Island. Make sure you go back and watch that one because you will be amazed at how different our videos are today. I'll put the link in the description below. Enough blarney, let's get back to Annie's story. Annie's parents, Matthew and Julia Moore, left Ireland for opportunity in New York in 1888. When they had finally established themselves and earned enough money for passage, they sent for their 3 children that they had left behind in County Cork, Ireland. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the desperation of parents leaving their children for 4 years so that they could prepare a better life for them? Today, it is truly hard to imagine. On December the 20th, 1891, Annie and her 2 younger brothers, Anthony, age 15, and Philip, age 12, boarded the SS Nevada in Cobh and forever left Patty's Green Shamrock Shore. The trio of children first arrived in New York Harbor on December 31st, but their offloading was delayed because the SS Nevada had arrived too late in the day to process the third-class passengers. This twist in fate set up a scenario for Annie to make history. On the morning of January the 1st, 1892, the gates were open and the new immigrants crowded to get their papers processed and start their new year with a new life in a new country. The story says that a large German man was about to be the first person off the boat, but a longshoreman took Annie by the hand and ushered her to the front, shouting, "Ladies first!" Suddenly, this average young lady had found herself making history. The opening of Ellis Island was a large public relations event, and Annie was officially registered by the former private secretary to the Secretary of the Treasury. Former Congressman John B. Weber, who was then the Superintendent of Immigration, presented her with a $10 gold piece, in which Annie replied that she would never get rid of. It was reported to the media that it was Annie's 15th birthday, but in fact, she was 17, and her birthday was April 24th, 1874. I guess the government and the media will do almost anything for a good story. Annie and her brothers were reunited with their parents and settled with them at their 5-story tenement at 32 Monroe Street, which is on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Annie later moved to an apartment that was close by on New Chambers Street. Annie lived her whole adult life within a few city blocks of New York City. When Annie was 21, she married a bakery clerk and a fish salesman named Joseph Augustus Scheyer, who was the son of German immigrants. Her father-in-law obtained a patent for macaroons, and it is thought that Annie took solace in sweets from her poverty-stricken life, which caused her to struggle with her weight. Annie had 11 children, but only 5 lived to be adults. Her first child died as a baby, but the next 4 survived to adulthood. Only one of the final 6 children survived their childhood, and they died at only 21 years old. It is thought that her life of poverty and her rapidly failing health was the reason that so many of her children died so young. 3 of her children had children, and many descendants live on today through them, and they are all over the United States. Annie lived in poverty most of her life, which was so common for immigrants of the time, and passed away from heart failure on December the 6th, 1924. She was only 50 years old. Family stories say that Annie became very obese, and when she died, she was too large to get down the stairs of her apartment, and she had to be lowered out the window. She was buried at Calvary Cemetery in Queens with 6 of her children, 5 of which died as babies, and 1 who only lived to be 21 years old. Until recently, she was without a headstone, but she was blessed with one in 2008. Annie's brother Anthony died in his 20s in the Bronx. Annie Moore has been memorialized in various items such as ornaments, charms, dolls, collector's plates, and even this video. Several songs and books have told her story, and her name has been given to awards and even a few pubs. For many years, her identity was wrongfully thought to be another woman with the same name. This Annie moved to Texas and New Mexico and married a descendant of the Irish hero Daniel O'Connell. She died at 46 years old by being ran over by a streetcar. This Annie Moore's descendants believed that she was the Annie that was the first through Ellis Island, and some of them were present at ceremonies there, and in Ireland. This Annie's image was likely used as the model for the sculptures that celebrate her. Most of Annie's story is not unlike millions of other immigrant stories, but fate would see it that she would be remembered forever because she was the first immigrant processed through the brand new Ellis Island Immigration Center. Her story is remembered largely due to the 2 sculptures that celebrate her. One sculpture lies in Annie's port of exit in Cobh, County Cork, Ireland, which was unveiled on February the 9th, 1993 by the Irish President Mary Robinson. Another sculpture of Annie stands at Ellis Island, New York. The sculpture in Cobh sits outside the Cobh Heritage Center, which is an interactive museum that covers the Irish immigration story. From 1815 to 1970, approximately 3 million Irish immigrated from here. The museum does an amazing job telling the story of the Irish immigration experience. Be sure to see our individual video from here that is jam-packed full of facts about our ancestors. So there you have it, the story of Annie Moore, the first immigrant to pass through the famous Ellis Island. What do you think? Are you inspired by Annie, or are you saddened by her difficult life? We'd love for you to comment below your thoughts. Also, if you are a descendant of an Ellis Island immigrant, we'd love for you to comment with their name. And if you can, tell us a little about them. We honor them by remembering them. We are proud to tell the story of Annie Moore. And remember, family tree nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.